Internet. Internet. Oh, wait, where's the internet thing? Where's the internet? Oh, it's the internet. Oh, wait, no, it's not here yet. Where's that thing? It's come. Oh, internet. There it is. What's up, internets? Internets. Oh, I'm getting blown up by Texas right here at the beginning. All right. That's my lady texting. My lady Vicky. She's in the. Did you see her in the thumbnail? You'll probably see her in the thumbnail if you're from the internet. Oh, hey, sashimi whiskey with the super chat right off the bat. But Steven Skoglund was first to the chat. Shout out to Steven, Nisi, Joel, Gillett, and Matt Gilmet, mysteriously of Canada, Cuba, Brazil, Russia, and China all at the same time. Oh, and Big E's, what up, man? What's going on? It is a lovely 9,000 degree Tuesday here in Tacoma, Wawa, where I live here in Tacoma, Wawa. And the hot and smoky weather is back, you guys. The hot and smoky weather is back. Oh, it's hot and smoky. The hot and smoky weather has returned, and it is... I don't know if I want to say it's good or bad. It just is. It's just kind of at the point now where it just is, you know? So it's not the worst thing ever, but it looks like it's going to go away tomorrow. It looks like today's the last day of the hot and smoky. So that is a good thing. Got a little something blowing in off the Pacific. And, you know, I was having a conversation earlier today with a friend of mine that was saying that... which was funny because I don't think they were necessarily paying attention to what I get up to, and they were talking about how everyone should probably take a requisite Alaska vacation during the summertime here because it gets apparently because of climate change or whatever, it gets super hot here now. And I was like, I just got back from that, and didn't. It's still hot when I got back. Although I have to say, I do realize that the Alaska weather that was going on, I think, is kind of the weather that I fit mostly into, and that would be the Pacific Northwest weather of, 52 degrees and raining. That seems to kind of actually be the most comfortable for me, realistically. So I need to figure out a place that just does 65 degrees and moist all year round. I think that's where the perfect place would be for me to live, and I'd just be like, all right, yeah, it's just weather outside. It's not going crazy. As much as I like lightning and thunderstorms and tornadoes and hot weather and super cold weather and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I'm over it. I'm just over the hot that's been going on here in Western Washington. It's weird. Maybe, yeah. Joel Gillett's got a good point. Maybe I got to move to New Zealand and we'll do a small sheep farm out in New Zealand. Right? Maybe we'll just do a little sheep farming out in New Zealand and just hang there. Although I don't know if I'll be able to understand what anybody's saying in New Zealand. Do they speak English there? Do they speak English in New Zealand? No, I would definitely. I want to go visit New Zealand. That's on my list for sure. That's on our very short list now of where to go for visiting purposes. We can make flax clothing. We can make flax clothing. Yeah, we can make flax clothing. Can you grow? Can you hemp farm in New Zealand now? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can hemp farm in New Zealand, but that's actually something that's starting to pick up here in America. That the hemp farming is opening up for hemp possibilities, which might be the crop. Might be a cash crop of the future that makes a lot of sense for people in America. So. So I would remember, what's the word there? I would kind of pay attention to how that is coming along. That may or may not be a really good opportunity for some young people to step into some farming. Although I'm of the what's the word? School of thought that getting into chicken farming is essentially the best idea, I would say personally, off the top of my head. As far as getting into farming, if anybody's interested in getting into agriculture like I am, it's something I think about a lot. I definitely want to have probably a small fish farm to some degree. Wildly jealous of what's his name? Oliver Knott gets to stop by this giant. Well, I can't think of what the type of fish is. I think they are. Giant gold koi or something like that they're farming there. He gets to stop by with some giant ponds and some of that farm stuff. I wouldn't ever want to farm salmon or anything like that. That's definitely not something that I would want to do necessarily. Oh yeah, cracked you up yesterday. I had to feed the chickens before the live stream. Yeah, we have to feed and water our chickens. We only have 5 here right now, although we're going to be adding to our family of chickens fairly soon. I think in the next, I think before the next spring comes. So I think chickens will start showing up around January, I think. So. That feels like a long way off because it's 100 degrees out today. That feels like it's a long way off, but it's not very far. That's only a couple of months away. So we're kind of looking forward to that, adding to the flock for next year. We're kind of on a 2-year, not necessarily rotation, but adding to our flock every 2 years right now because we do still live in the city. Even though our house is awesome. As you all know, we do live fairly in the city here, so we can't go too extreme with stuff. Although the pond hole for the pond and the aquaponics and stuff here is actually marked off now and halfway dug out. So I would stay tuned for some of that stuff. The greenhouse and whatnot will be going in fairly soon as my lady decides on how she wants the floor in it done. And any of you out there that are interested in doing DIY electrical, that is actually going to be coming up here fairly soon too. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to shoot video on that or not. Probably, in my opinion, just because of the liability factor. Like I might show somebody how to, if I post up a video and then somebody's like, well, I did it like you did it, and then my house burned down. So I don't know if I'm going to do a video on that, but maybe I'll highlight some of the work instead of doing like a really extensive videos of it or anything like that. But maybe we'll talk about some of that stuff. Oh, Flip Aquatics just showed up. Oh, Rob, what's up, Rob? He's loving the shrimps in the background. Which reminds me, now that Rob's here, I'm actually working on some pieces for Flip Aquatics and Eric Gone Mad, and these pieces back here are for subscribers. So those of you that have contributed to the Patreon here, the Patreon is the main crowdfunding, whatever you want to call it. This is sort of like if you want to endorse the live streams and all the stuff here, we're sort of funding this. Sort of like NPR, like you guys kick in $1, $5, whatever, any of that kind of stuff. It's going to go towards the production of this. And as I've said previously, the top Patreon people are going to be getting some of these paintings. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up making probably around 20 of these or something like that, and then I'm going to number them, and then I'm going to send out all the emails to the Patreon people, and it's going to be first come, first serve for the one that you want. I'm basically going to number them, and then you can I'm going to post them up on Darkstar Arts. If you haven't been to darkstararts.com, I don't have a link for it here. There, I typed it in for you. If you haven't been to darkstararts.com, I'm going to actually post them up all on there with a number on each one. And then as you guys will email me back in the number, then the number will get crossed out. And so you won't be able to get that one, if you know what I'm saying. So it won't be a real confusion, because I've had a lot of people send in messages on which ones they want. Those ones will actually just have... So, okay, for instance, this one, green one up here, that one right there, that green one up there actually is for Phil. That one is for Phil because, and I will just say Phil because that's his secret name. That's his secret real name. So y'all don't know exactly who he is, but he is somebody who has subscribed and been very interactive with the channel for a really long time. And he sent me an email through Darkstar Arts, and said specifically the kind that he wanted. Because of that, well, guess what? I'm making him the one that he wants. So just to give you an idea on that, and a couple other people have done the same thing. So it's pretty easy for me to figure out who the patronizers are and who they aren't. Which later on in this episode, we'll talk about who those people are and whatnot. And as Rob there from Flip Aquatics was here, we've also talked about doing a shrimp trade and that kind of stuff. So I'm working on some big canvases for him and shooting video on that. I'll also be a big video for Eric Gone Mad's piece for him and his wife, which is probably about halfway done production-wise. Essentially, I don't want to put out a video of something that's only halfway done. So as things get done, then those videos will start coming up. Whereas with these ones, I don't mind these ones showing them off halfway done and that kind of stuff. That doesn't bother me all that much. This big tree back here, I'm motivated to get that thing out of here fairly soon. I'll be finishing some of the leaf work in the base, and then the frame for it and stuff. We'll be sending that on down the road. So that stuff will be sorted out fairly soon and all that kind of stuff. If you guys want to support the channel and all that kind of stuff, you can do like Sashimi Whiskey did and Super Chat, or you can go to the Patreon and do that kind of thing. So yeah, afternoon surprises, secret surprises. Yeah, this is, so here where I live, it's 4:19 p.m. specific time, specific standard time, and I'm going to be trying to do the live stream at this hour moving forward. So that is how my schedule is going to try, and I'm going to try and work that out. I'll probably do some of the 8 o'clock at night live streams and stuff when Vicky is here at some point in time, but no guarantee on those. This is the time slot that I'm going to try to occupy as far as moving forward and all that kind of stuff. So, we definitely have a bunch of fish tank stuff tomorrow that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the crebensis because they're actually doing so well. They've over doubled in size in the short amount of time. So we're going to talk about the 2 freshwater tanks, things that are going on in the freshwater tanks tomorrow. And then probably Thursday will be reef stuff, because I have a bunch of reef stuff going on that I believe some of y'all would be interested in, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that's been going on with that. Like I mentioned yesterday, I thought I had a huge crash in the reef tank because of goofy stuff that was going on in there. The shrimp had molted, so I thought there was a dead shrimp, which when I went and pulled that out, I was like, oh, that's just the molt from the giant fire shrimp that's in there. It wasn't actually a dead shrimp. It was just a big molt, and it was bright red. So it was standing out and looking like a dead shrimp instead of a molt. I pulled that out. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then one of the anemones was missing, but it turned out I just couldn't see it because it had moved. And then one other thing that was going on. Oh yeah, one of the corals hadn't opened because I turned the lights down while I was gone. So I thought I had a coral dead, I thought I had a shrimp dead, and I thought I had an anemone dead and gone. Which none of those things were true. Everything was going fine in there. So though we do have a little bit of algae to battle, we have some sump stuff to do, and hook up some different reactors. So I'm actually gonna hook up 2 reactors and mess with those. And that video will be on Thursday. And then tomorrow will be some of the stuff that's going on in the 240 and the Vicky's tank, the 75. So I guess that's the schedule this week. I don't really know what's going to go on Friday. Friday will probably be kind of freestyle, I guess, realistically, if you get down to it. I'm thinking. I don't know. But, yeah, that's what's going on. Super hot here and all that stuff. So, yeah, we're moving on to this part. Oh, and the video started without us. Man, what are you doing? There we go. Gadoosh. There. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes the video starts without me. As you guys noticed from the title, this is a video and some of the stuff that we shot. Some of the stuff that we shot for the rafting trip that we went on, just kind of show you guys what it's all about, what it's like when you kind of getting prepped. Goodell Creek is where we were at, the raft launch to go down the Skagit. Which, by the way, on a side note, right up here by the this Skagit raft and all this stuff is a blueberry farm with an ice cream and espresso stand. And I have to say, I am wildly jealous of their setup that they got going on up there with the with that blueberry farm and that ice cream that they're making and the espresso stand and all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely pretty jealous of the property that those guys have and that they're operating up there. And if you have a chance, stop by there and get some of that ice cream. I would even just drive up there just to go get it. If you happen to be in the north end, it's probably not that far, probably an hour-long drive up to the Mountain Loop highway and get started on the Mountain Loop. It's not very far up there, but I would check that out if you ever get a chance to go up to this area. This is one of the big reasons why we like rafting, because you really get an opportunity to go look at really unadulterated nature. So just to give you an idea, heading down the Skagit on one side of the river is a highway. So there's a small 2-lane highway. It's basically a road that just has a high speed limit on it. And that other side of the river over there, well, the river stops really anybody from getting over there. There are a few ambitious people that have little boats of their own and head over there and kind of hike around and check stuff out and that kind of stuff. But it really just isn't messed with. This is all national forest, and nobody's messing with it at all. So you really get a chance to see kind of what nature is like, what is going on with the area that you're in. And it's basically untouched, at least for the last 100 years, since the loggers are no longer around in that area over there, because it is national park now. And this is one of the big reasons why we like to get out and go do this kind of stuff. Is get an opportunity to really see what it's like out in the wild. And there are not a lot of people out there that have access to this kind of just going out and check this kind of stuff out. With you know, the regularity that we do here in Washington, going out on hikes and all this kind of stuff. We really do live in an exceptional place here in Washington. But the United States as a whole is really exceptional on the fact that the national parks are so big. We do have these large swaths of land that just aren't messed with, that have trails and people really maintaining the land. Most countries don't have this, so I try to use it as much as possible. This rafting opportunity is something that I think most people could access because the cost is not that much. I think to raft was like $65. And, you know, it was... let's see, I think this one was about 4-hour trip. So it's probably, if you break it down, it's probably, what is that? It's like going to the movies. Basically these days. Would be like going to see a movie in the theater. And that's Hal right there, our guy that guides us around on he's the raft aficionado. He is the guru of boating and going down rivers and stuff like that. Very nice guy, and we'll definitely get some more. I'll definitely get some more video of him next time we go out rafting because he's a bit of a character. He's a character kind of guy, and we'll try to get some more video of him. I do want to sit down and see if I can't do a little bit of an interview with him, but I don't know if he would really feel comfortable with doing that. So I'm gonna see if I can, and maybe I'll just be able to do like an audio recording with him if he doesn't want to do video or any of that kind of stuff. I know that people get really ants in their pants about that kind of well, certain types of people or whatever. But maybe I'll get him to come on the live stream and see what he has to say about live streaming. Someone has hacked Corey's account. Oh, it's so hot that water tastes amazing. Yeah, it's pretty hot out, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is a little hot out for my blood. As you can see, I'm actually drinking water myself, and not coffee, believe it or not, because it is hot. But yeah, Joel Gillett was saying, bets it was thrilling. It was thrilling, even though this river itself actually was really relaxing. I think that just about anybody at any skill level could go down this river, on this river as a guided. Realistically, any skill level could go do this one. And as I said, this one is was like $65, and you know they have your life vests and your oars and all that kind of stuff that you need there when you show up. So that's definitely something that's makes it pretty cost effective too, is that all the equipment is provided for you. So you're able to go, the guide will take you down and they'll show you what to do and what to do in what areas of the river. They're all very versed. I don't have a specific company that I'm really sworn to personally. But there are lots of them out here that are pretty fantastic, and it was a lot of fun. This one is a lot of fun. This one isn't even, I don't even think that this one would really be scary for people that don't even know how to swim or anything like that. Let's see. In Thailand, etc., you can drift down rivers on inflatable tubes with beers, etc. It's all organized. Yeah, they do that a ton here too. They call that river floating. But you're not gonna. There's a lot of areas that you're not gonna be able to do that in Washington, just because of as you can see here in August. This is how much water is going down the Skagit. It is moving pretty quick. And there are definitely some spots that you would probably end up drowning if you were in an inner tube with no. If you were in an inner tube all half drunk drinking beer and didn't have like a life vest on or something like that, you could definitely drown pretty easily. But you know, rafting guides won't put up for those kinds of shenanigans, right? Oh, I hear the dog barking out there. Dog! Surprises! Oh. The dog's barking and I don't know why. But yeah, there are some rivers out here where you could do a float or something like that with just an inner tube or whatever. This one would be pretty precarious for somebody in an inner tube at certain points, where as you go around bends and stuff like that, you could definitely end up having a problem. But this one, let's see. So Aquarium Co-op Corey saying he's only ever done like a 30-minute trip before. Yeah, like I said, this is like a 4-hour trip, so it's not a grueling trip. You realistically wouldn't need like camping gear or any of that kind of stuff. We camped beforehand because that's just something that we do, but you wouldn't have to. But this would really be accessible to just about anybody, I think, realistically at that price point, and able to get into something that's quite a bit of fun. And going with somebody like Hal, who's really experienced to pay attention to the river and stuff. This river's also not that crazy. All right, hold on a minute. I gotta figure out what's going on. All right. Well, sorry about that. Had to go find out what the hell was going on with the dog. There's apparently a cat out there, which is wildly exciting for the dogs. So I had to get them to come back inside because it's not that important. Let's see here. Is there trout or something in this river? There is trout in that river specifically. Also salmon, for sure. Some of the salmon runs are kind of endangered because of how many dams and all that kind of stuff are on these kinds of runs. But we definitely did see some trout and some salmon that were on there. This is kind of the time of year that they're coming in for sure, coming in to spawn and die. But as I was saying, that's kind of a fast-moving section there that it was kind of difficult to spot very many fish because of how quickly we're moving through. Though the water was pretty clear, so some spots where we're going real slow had an opportunity to kind of peek down and check out some fish and stuff like that. But nothing really accessible for anybody's fish tank unless you had like a big fast-flowing trout tank thing or salmon tank or something like that. I think you could, but Alaskan rivers are full of bear and moose poop. Oh yeah, that's for sure. Bears use those rivers as a toilet on the reg, right? I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with the bears and mooses. The bears and mooses are up there pooping into the lakes and rivers. But yeah, I would say we definitely find this to be a really enjoyable way to spend the weekend and a real opportunity to like look around and see some of the nature stuff that you just really wouldn't, especially from the road. Even from like hikes and stuff, you might not necessarily see a lot of this stuff because, as I said, the river is obstructing the way to get there. So recently we hiked. Oh, what was the name of that? Mount Belgica. Belgica? I think that's how it's called. Who knows? But we went up Mount Belgica, and it's like you end up seeing a lot of really nice nature and things that are going on out there for sure. But it is definitely touched by man. There are a lot of people out there camping. There are a lot of people out there making messes and doing things and campfires and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit... it's not as raw as the kind of stuff that you get to see when you're doing like a rafting trip or something like that, which is quite fun. Oh, and Punky Pam is here. What's up, Punky Pam? How you doing? Yeah. So I would say Vicky and I have a ton of fun doing this stuff, and it is quite enjoyable for us to go do it. And then like I said, it actually is an accessible price, and we could have just drove out Saturday morning, gone, and then, hung out after that and, like, gone to eat some food or whatever and that kind of stuff. But we ended up going to Eastern Washington after the fact. And you know what? I didn't make a video for the Eastern Washington stuff, which is pretty smooth, I'll admit. hold on, let's turn that off. And then we'll pull up, oh, here is something that I wanted to talk about because we are doing some of this ourselves, which is growing hops. And hold on, where did that go? I got a good picture of it. I got a good picture of it because of my lady. She do. Wait, I'm not gonna open it. Well, why not? Where'd it go? Now it moved. Oh man, midstream pulling up pictures. Where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. No, that's not it. Why isn't this? Hold on a second, guys. Open. There. Wasn't doing it. And it's real quiet now while I search through the searching. The never-ending searching. Here we go. Is that it? No, that's not it. But this, oh yeah, here's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So in Eastern Washington, everything's burned like this. It's burned on the reg all the time, every year. And there, I gotta move it around a little bit. All right, so here's an example of what it's like in Eastern Washington. And people don't really believe me when I talk to them about how Eastern Washington is essentially a desert. Because it is a desert, and it is a fantastic place to go visit and hang out and live. I would say it's a great place to live because it is. Why didn't that open? Okay, there we go. And then here's a shot right here, which is not necessarily the greatest shot that we got, but so what we're doing right now is we're growing like 5 of these hops type plants right here. This is how they grow them agriculturally, right? So you put up these big poles and then you put these wires going over there. And then as they get up to the top, they actually just burn them, believe it or not. They burn the top off once they get up to the top, which is pretty cool. Ours right now is pretty rudimentary, but we're kind of just practicing with growing our hops and seeing how this is going along. And we ended up getting an opportunity to check out some of these hop farms while we were out there and realizing just how extensive they are and how big they are. It's kind of giving me a little bit of an idea that maybe we'll end up doing some hop farming at some point in time, because I'd only ever seen pictures. Like, people had posted pictures. I've never actually seen them in person, so I could actually check out how they were doing it in person. But now I've got a pretty darn good idea of how they're doing it in person with what people have talked to me about. And then plus the hops that we're growing here. So our hops here seem to be about the, what's the word I'm looking for? 3rd year, maybe? I think they seem to be about 3rd year mature. So they're actually coming pretty well along. And so I'm thinking about possibly, if anybody out there has any real information about hop farming, if you could pass that along. I just wanted to kind of hit on that subject while I was doing the live stream today. I wanted to remember to talk about that a little bit because it was good to see actually what was going on and actually what they were doing. And then I'm also trying to figure out, here's something that I couldn't figure out, what the plant in between the hops, what they're planting in between the hops. So they have like rows of hops growing like this, and then they've planted something in between. And I didn't have an opportunity to really, like, you know, hop over the irrigation ditch or anything like that to check out what it was that they were growing in between there. So maybe somebody who has a real fancy schmancy knowledge of what it is that they're growing in between there. It seemed to be like a leafy green of some kind, but maybe I should have gotten out like a telescope or some binoculars or something. But I don't have any binoculars, so that would have been weird. Punky Pam, my sister and I are dividing irises. Can I send you and Vicky some if you want? Are those irises from are those hop irises? Or just the flowers? Oh. But yeah, if you want to send us plants like flowers or any of that kind of stuff, for sure. Send us some plants, Pamela. You have to be German or Dutch to grow hops. No, you don't. That's not true. I'll grow some 30-foots. Do I want to grow some 30-foot hops? Yes. Actually, here we're going to grow them. So this year we grew them straight up. But next year we're going to grow them up and have them connect and have a big, what do you call that? Trellis or something, whatever the hell you call that overhead thing that goes over. I can't think of what that's called. Like a, you know, plant. Yeah, I don't know. There's a word. I haven't been that great about finding my words since I've been back from vacation, but hey, you know, in Alaska you don't really have to talk very much because it's all nonverbal communication, right? But yeah, we're definitely going to be, it's one thing that I'm going to be looking into is possibly doing some hops. I would like to do a couple of acres of hops. I'm going to see what I can't do with a obviously smaller operation. And then I'm trying to figure out from a brewer friend of mine exactly how many ounces of hops that they want to buy at a time. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's 200 pounds or something like that. So I'm going to need to do the math on how many I grow, which I'm going to be doing here fairly soon when I'm going to be drying them. So I'm probably going to shoot a little bit of video of cutting them down and drying them because that's actually pretty interesting to me. And then we'll also be screwing around with our blueberry plants and things of those natures coming up. Yeah, I think it's Dwayne saying arboretum, but but a trellis. I'm thinking about. It's the overhead thing that goes over a pathway. What the hell is that called? All right, that's freaking me out. What is that called? There it is. I have a picture of it. Archway and path. I guess let's just call it a beautiful garden arch over a pathway. There we go. We'll just call it a garden arch for now. We'll call it a garden arch. That seems to be what they're calling it on Pinterest. But I like a living archway. There we go. Well, let's at least call it an archway. Then I think everybody knows what we're talking about, right? Fancy plant arch. There we go. Then at least we'll know what we're talking about. So a planted archway that goes over but it's going to be over a large gap. So it'll be about 20 feet wide and 10 feet tall. So I think that'll be pretty, cool. I know a lot of people do grapes and stuff like that, but we don't have a long enough growing season here in Western Washington for grapes every time that I've tried to do them. So that is not going to work. But the hops, I'm actually pretty excited messing around with them. They were something that was left by the previous owners, and having a lot of fun growing them and figuring out stuff to do with them. It turns out a lot of ointments, a lot of moist ointments are made out of hops and stuff. So I'm actually going to be looking into maybe doing something with those. I'm not 100% sure, or I'll just dry them out and send them off to somebody who makes beer. Obviously, I don't drink beer. Being sober, the other day I reached the 1,200 days sober now. What's that? Marker? What do you call that? Roadway marker? The mile marker? There we go, milestone. I'm past that up, and so things are going well on that front, but I don't really have any problems with people drinking beer or brewing beer or any of that kind of stuff. It's not something it doesn't piss me off or anything, so I wouldn't have a problem, supplying some hops for my guy who's going to brew his own beer and have some beers, because he's definitely a responsible guy. As a matter of fact, I was at his wedding, so long time ago. I was actually at and in his wedding and signed his marriage certificate thing, right? As witness, bore witness, and he's a responsible guy. So, yeah, I don't have any problems with that, right? Oh, what's this? Inbox. Oh, yeah. I wanted to mention we didn't really get... It was kind of weird while we were gone. I didn't really get any messages from anybody or anything along that lines. So it sounds like most people realized that I was out of town, though we had a few come in off of some old videos that were up. Waxy Parsnips was asking about my sump system and my water changes. I wish they had watched some of my other videos where I'd shown the water changes from the sump, but I'll answer it here on the live stream on the off chance that Waxy Parsnips is watching. The dechlorinating was her question, or his question. I don't know. How do you connect your tap directly to your sump to top off after a water change? Just wondering how you rid the chlorine, or are you on a well? I'm not on a well. I'm on the municipal water here, so we do have chlorine and chloramines to deal with that are coming in from our water. And a lot of you guys know I recommend Safe over the Prime dechlorinator, which is Safe is my favorite one because it lasts a really long time. You get a lot of bang for the buck from Safe. So as I'm doing my water change, I'll normally just add a quarter of a teaspoon and then a quarter of a teaspoon because it takes me about 10 minutes of full flow to do a water change on my 240. The Safe actually is only really going to work for about 8 to 10 minutes. So I just generally add 2 quarter teaspoons, not tablespoons, quarter teaspoons. It really, a little bit goes a really long way, and that is enough to dechlorinate really well out of that system to do those water changes. And those of you that have been following, now I'm adding actually carbon filtration to the water that's going into my freshwater tanks. So that will be the method in the future that is coming up. I'll just actually have a pre-filter that the water will actually be flowing through, that'll be pulling the chlorine out before it even hits the tank at all. And that will be... it actually, realistically, it'll just save me a step more often than not. Just save me a step from having to dechlor the water before it's going in, and just save me having to find the Safe and screw around with the Safe and It actually just saved me a step to be able to turn water on, turn water off, and do a quick water change. I've actually kind of dialed down the amount of water changes I'm doing on the 240. I'm only doing about once every week and a half. I'm doing probably 60 gallons realistically out of it about every week and a half, so I'm not doing as extensive water changes as I used to. Just kind of balancing out the system with biomedia and all that kind of stuff to realistically avoid doing water changes. And it also is part of the game that I'm working on to never do water changes on the reef either again, and just be doing dosing once every 5 to 7 days to make sure that my corals have enough to grow and everything's going healthy in there. So I guess that's an answer. I don't know. Wonder if I answered it well enough. We don't know if Waxy Parsnips is around or not, so we'll just never know. Oh, hey, FU2 made it. And Iris, I didn't say hi. Sorry, Iris. Should have said hi. I heard you say Iris is from the other room. Can I help you? Oh, actually, Punky Pam was saying that they're splitting her irises, and if she could send some along to Vicky and I, Vicky would definitely appreciate that. I would appreciate it, but Vicky would wildly appreciate those any kind of flower donations for her gardening and everything that she does here. She does quite a bit of gardening, quite a bit of stuff. It really is amazing. I look forward to next year after she's been putting in all this work into the yard and all that kind of stuff. I look forward to next year and how great it's going to look. Let's see. I'm trying to look through. Ruben
sent in a message saying he ordered biomedia last week from the Amazon link. If you guys haven't gone to the Amazon link, it's on Darkstar Arts. Click through there, it takes you to Amazon. Doesn't change the price, any of that kind of stuff. It just says that we sent you to Amazon. And he said that it looks great. It was a great, it was a good deal. A lot of media for the price, and it pulls the water. He dipped the corner in to see if it would pull water to the top, and they work great. So awesome, Ruben. I'm glad that worked out for you. Works pretty well. Honestly, that ceramic biomedia, it works well. Comes in a bag and everything, and works out great. So let's see. Oh, Olympia Shrimps was saying last time they were in Alaska, they went all over looking to see a moose. Finally saw one standing in the middle of a golf course on the way to the airport to fly home. I did get this message when I wasn't in Alaska, and realistically, all that Vicky wanted to see while we were there was a moose. So then it ended up becoming contagious to me. Then I was going like, I want to see a moose too. That's all I want to see. And then I was getting offended by the fact that we weren't seeing a moose. So we ended up going to the conservatory where they actually have captive moose breeding in this big area. So we ended up seeing those moose, though I did take your advice and checked out every golf course I could find up there and paid real close attention to the golf courses, and I still didn't see any moose, which is odd because it seems like if you're in Alaska, you should just get to see a moose, especially last time when we were there. A moose and a baby moose, a mama and a baby, walked like right up on us. Honestly, I was pretty freaked out when it happened, and I'm glad that no one got hurt. Because the moose have a tendency to maul people from time to time, generally more often than bears. But that's what happened last time. So I guess my expectation was, oh, you know, and on the first day we saw a big bear. So I just assumed that we were going to see a bear, or see a moose also, because the last time we were there we saw a moose, no problem. But that wasn't the case. I didn't even see him in the golf course. So I did check it out, and I did take your advice. But there weren't any golfing. There weren't any golfing mooses. Moosies. There wasn't any moosies golfing. If you're ever in Alaska in late August, you can see them eating my fruit trees in the front yard. That makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to me that they would be there eating your fruit. I would do that too. All right. Well, actually, that's all the questions that we really had. Let me double check here. Alaska update. All right. Well, anyhow, that's what's going on. Joel Gillett's got to go. I guess I don't really have much else to talk about today, so I'll just cut it short on the hour here. And I don't really have any questions to answer or anything along those lines. So hopefully, you all liked the live stream, or maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I had a good time coming out here to see you all and say hi. So special thanks to everybody for coming out. And I guess shameless self-promotion, I'll post the Patreon in here again in case anybody feels like they want to kick in on the Patreon channel thing, whatever the hell you want to call it, the crowdfunding to get rid of advertising and all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, I can always pan left to right. I can pan left to right. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I think it's I believe when we did the calculation, it came out to 1.78 cords of wood. If a woodchuck could chuck wood, it's about 1.78 cords of wood. Last time we did the math. Although we did it on a whiteboard and somebody erased all of our work, so we'll never really know. I just remember that's how much wood a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, you know. All right. So as I said, shameless self-promotion and shameless thank you from all of the Patreonizers out there: Long Woo, Steven Skoglund, Aquarium Co-op, Joel Gillett, Cichlid Bro, M. Den Hollander, Kyle Wildewelt, Kevin Hayes, Gene Fensk, Sashimi Whiskey, Jennifer Sarchicino, Matt Gilmet, and Karen KZ Ellis, and then simply Matthew at the $1 level. We currently have a bunch of people on the Patreon, and thank you to you guys, and thank you everybody coming out to chat tonight. I'm going to head out of here, and oh yeah, Sashimi Whiskey, thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. So I'm going to head out of here for today, and maybe I'll be back tomorrow around 4 o'clock. And yeah, that'll be that. All right. Later.